I've heard a story one time, this was so cool, about a lady that heard a message kind of similar to this at a church. And she goes, you know what, I've got an idea. And she had this idea of doing a ministry that was basically to the elderly. And she thought, you know what, not only could it be a ministry, but she had an idea of how to set up a nursing home for the elderly and to minister to them. And she thought, the way that everybody's doing it doesn't work. It doesn't work. The way the government does it, it doesn't work. She goes, I know how to do it. And so she came and she told some people at her church about it, and they're like, okay, well, yeah, maybe you can do that. And so you know what? She began to take some steps on that, and she started a nursing home. In fact, it was so, not only did she start it, it was so successful that the United States government came to her and took notice and said, how do you do this? Because what we're doing obviously doesn't work. What do you do? And she began to tell them, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, ends the earth. Wow. All because she thought, how can I change the world? How can I obey God in this? And it was amazing. The sky is the limit for you guys. And by the way, this is the deal right here. Is when you get an idea about something you want to do, I am not going to tell you no. I'm going to say, man, well, let's figure out how to do it. How can we do that thing? How can the church come around you to help you with that? Or maybe that's kind of more in the family project. How can you do that? Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the ends of the earth. Now, kind of wrapping this thing up right here, is I know that there are some of you, I know many of you pretty well, and I get with most of you, you know, I have a relationship with most of you here, some of you not as much as others. But I kind of know where some of you are at with this, because we've talked about it. And I know some of you, this is where you're at. You're like, you know what, Andrew, I'm there. I understand this, I want to do it. But the question for some of you is, I'm not sure how to do it. How do I do it? Help me out. That's where some of you are at. Some of you are at the point of saying, you know what, I agree with this in principle, but honestly, you're not firing on all spiritual cylinders right now. And because of that, it keeps you from doing some incredible things for God. For those of you that are in that place, here's what needs to happen. I would use the term, and I don't know what this means to you, revival in your heart. Some desperation, some seeking the Lord, some getting after Him, so that you can get those cylinders fired back up, that you can begin clicking where it's at. And some of you are in a place where you're like, you know, that's cool, but you don't know me. I'm not a minister. There may be some people in there that think that. I'm just not there. You don't understand. You don't know me, obviously. Let me tell you something. If that's where you're at, yes, you are a minister. You don't realize it yet. You're kind of maybe in that process of getting that oxygen mask attached, and you're kind of, you know, arranging it. But let me tell you something right here. That's where it's going. And God's got a hold of you. And don't be afraid. And don't let go. And go in and let it happen. And He will change. It will be incredible. And some of you are in a place where maybe you are living in a place of fear and of doubt and of unforgiveness. And as Christiane shared, that there was a time in her life when she thought it was okay, but she was really living in unforgiveness, and that was not good enough. And maybe there's some of you in this room that is the spot where you are at right now. And for those of you that are in that spot, here's what you've got to do. Is you've got to back off and take your hands off the steering wheel of your life. And you've got to surrender and say, God, I am yours. Please change me. I don't know how to do it. But get in my life and change it for good. And He will. And He'll stick His hand right in the middle of your situation and just let Him in and mess with you big time. Let Him begin to change your thoughts. Let Him begin to change your ideas on the way that you look at the world, because you may only be looking at the way you think the world is, but you're wrong. You're off. If you listen to the voices that are out there, that are around, that are screaming through TV and radio, and even just the spirit of the way it goes, you're not getting the right picture of what's going on. That's not it. That's the matrix wool cover over the eyes thing. You need to have God get a hold of you in a way to liberate you into reality, and you will see things differently. you will walk differently. It's amazing. I shared last week one of the coolest things about the Matrix movie is once Neo got into the real world and realized it, and was convinced of it, he did extraordinary things. Jumping across buildings, flying up in the air like this, and doing all those cool things that were like, oh, cool. But that only could happen when he was changed. It's exactly what happens to Christians. When you're changed, you realize, you look at that chart and you say, okay, I can literally change the world. My family can change the world. My church, we can change the world. And you know what? If we get enough people around here believing that, we will. We will. Judea and Samaria, our city, needs to be changed for God. Guys, we can do that. We can do that. I don't know where you're at with that. I'm so right there with that. And I don't have all the answers to it, but I know together we can figure it out. And with God, we can figure it out for sure. Well, let's close this thing out. Could you guys stand up, please? I'm going to have Brad come on back up here, and I'm just going to have us close.